Without warning, the stars seemed different that night. The council's main chamber, high above the central city of Eldora, was silent except for the low hum of machinery and the soft breathing of the council members. They had dealt with countless threats from the universe, from rogue planets to alien plagues, yet tonight, something uneasy stirred in the fabric of reality itself. Commander Vela, the youngest member of the council, felt it first. A strange tingle ran down her spine, a sensation she could not explain. She adjusted her chair and tried to focus on the glowing map before her, which charted every known civilization in the galaxy. All the usual signals were quiet. But then, a single point blinked, red, urgent, untraceable. "Commander Vela," spoke Elder Armin, his voice deep and calm. "Do you see that?" Vela nodded. "Yes, sir. I don't recognize it. It's not in any of our charts. And it's growing." A murmur spread among the council members. Signals like this did not appear suddenly. They always had warnings, signs, patterns. But this was raw, sudden, and alive. Outside, in the blackness of space, something moved. Something that had been quiet, hidden, almost invisible. On the distant planet Terra Nova, humans were unaware of what was unfolding above them. They went about their lives, building, learning, exploring, completely blind to the attention they had drawn. The council had thought humanity was weak, predictable, and too primitive to matter. They had watched Earth for centuries, cataloging its species, its conflicts, its potential. And they had decided humans were irrelevant. That judgment, they would soon discover, was a mistake. Vela stared at the map. The red point pulsed, almost like a heartbeat. She felt a strange connection, as if the signal was calling to her, whispering secrets she could not yet understand. "Prepare the observation fleet," Elder Armin ordered. "We need more information. Immediately." Vela moved to comply, but her mind wandered to a distant memory. The first human explorers who had left their planet, tiny vessels against the vastness of space. She remembered reading about their determination, their curiosity, their fearlessness. Humans could survive where others would fail. Could it be that the council had underestimated them so completely? The first transmission came without warning. A flicker in the council's communication network, small, almost imperceptible, but undeniable. The human signal was unlike any they had encountered. It was chaotic, erratic, but also intelligent. Sophisticated beyond expectation, yet primal in a way that suggested raw, untamed power. "Scan for origin," Vela said. Her fingers flew over the controls. But no matter how far they traced, the source remained elusive. It was everywhere and yet nowhere. The Council's instruments, designed to detect even the faintest traces of intelligent life, could not make sense of it. In the observation tower above Terra Nova, humans looked up at the sky as a strange aurora danced across the horizon. Children laughed at the colors, while adults marveled, unaware that their world had just entered the view of a civilization that believed itself superior. Back on the Council's platform, panic started to ripple through the members. Elder Armin's face tightened, his calm exterior cracking ever so slightly. "This is unprecedented," he muttered. "Prepare all defense protocols. Alert every outpost. Humanity, they are awake." Vela felt her heart pound. She had seen many species rise, but never like this. There was a fire in humanity, a spark that no technology could measure, no logic could contain. And now, that spark was reaching out into the galaxy, calling attention to itself in a way the Council could no longer ignore. Minutes later, the first human fleet appeared, not in numbers, but in presence. Small vessels, unassuming yet resolute, moving as though they belonged among the stars. The Council members leaned forward, eyes wide, not fully understanding what they were witnessing. Elder Armin's voice was barely audible. "So, this is what they are capable of?" The blinking red point on the map grew brighter, almost alive, a warning and a challenge all at once. Humanity's true nature was emerging, and for the first time, the Council realized they had no control over the species they had dismissed for so long. Vela felt a mix of fear and awe. Something ancient stirred in the galaxy that night, drawn by humans' unassuming courage. And she knew, deep in her bones, that nothing would ever be the same again. The council was not ready. They had no idea what they were about to face. And on Terra Nova, humans slept, unaware that their quiet determination had just changed the course of the galaxy forever. The council's fleet trembled in the void, their sleek vessels lined up like silent predators. Commander Vela's hands hovered over the controls, unsure what they would encounter. The red signal from humanity pulsed like a heartbeat across every screen, refusing to be ignored. Every instrument, every sensor, every algorithm they had relied upon seemed to fail in its presence. "Sir," one officer whispered, "we cannot locate the source precisely. It's everywhere." Elder Armin's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. That's not how space works. Nothing can exist in multiple locations at once without being destroyed." Vela clenched her jaw. "Sir, it's like they're connected, somehow. All of them, together, but separate. The signal isn't just a transmission. It's a presence." The council murmured. They had faced countless civilizations before, but none had given them this sensation, the feeling of being watched, measured, and understood at the same time. It was subtle, almost instinctive, but unmistakable. Humans were different. Far below, on Terra Nova, humanity continued unaware. Their ships were small, not yet equipped for war, exploration only. Yet the humans on board felt a strange pull toward the unknown. Every pilot, every crew member, knew instinctively that something important was happening beyond the stars. They had trained for decades for emergencies they did not yet understand, yet the feeling of purpose, of destiny, drove them forward. Back on the council's platform, a senior officer broke the tense silence. "Sir, the humans are reacting to us." Vela's fingers froze. "Reacting? How?" "They can't." Before she could finish, a ripple passed through the space surrounding the council fleet. It was subtle at first, a shimmer, a vibration, but within moments, it grew, bending light and energy around the council vessels. Alarms screamed as shields faltered, systems overloaded. "They're manipulating space," one officer gasped. "But that's impossible." "Impossible only until it happens," Elder Armin said quietly, staring at the map. The red point had exploded into hundreds of blinking lights, each one pulsing with energy, as if the humans themselves were alive across the galaxy. Vela felt a chill. Humans were not just unpredictable, they were untouchable in ways the council had never calculated. The species they had underestimated had grown stronger than they could imagine, faster than any logic predicted. Meanwhile, in one of Terra Nova's smaller ships, Captain Alara felt the pull strongest. Her instruments were simple compared to the Council's advanced technology, yet she sensed the presence of the alien fleet. It wasn't fear, it was a challenge, a question being asked silently across the void. "Who are you?" Her crew looked at her, unsure, but she smiled faintly. "We'll find out," she said. And with that, their small vessel accelerated, guided by instinct rather than instruction. The red pulse had given them courage, clarity, a reason to move forward even when the unknown was terrifying. The council watched in disbelief. Vela's hands flew across the console as she tried to recalibrate sensors. "Sir, they're coordinating. Every ship, every human, acting as one without communication." How is this possible?" Elder Armin closed his eyes. "They are connected by more than technology," he said. "This is intelligence beyond our understanding. Their evolution, it's extraordinary. Perhaps, we misjudged them entirely." But the council had no time to ponder. The human's presence was now undeniable. Small bursts of energy, harmless for now, streaked past the council ships, probing, testing defenses. Each probe, each flicker of light, was a statement. We exist. We are aware. Vela leaned back in her chair, heart racing. She had studied species that could manipulate energy, that could survive in the vacuum of space, but humans were different. They were stubborn, creative, and terrifyingly adaptable. The Council's strategy, which had always relied on predicting reactions and weaknesses, was useless. In Terra Nova's command center, Captain Alara looked at her crew, their faces pale but resolute. "We're not just explorers," she said. "We're the first step of something bigger. And the galaxy, it's watching us. Let's show it what humans can do." As the human ships moved deeper into the void, the Council fleet scrambled to respond, but every attempt to attack or contain them failed. It was as if the humans were one step ahead, always moving, always adapting, almost as if they knew the Council's every thought before it was made. Elder Armin stared at the map, his voice low and urgent. "Prepare for the unimaginable. Humanity has awakened. And whatever comes next, we will not be ready." Vela swallowed hard, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. She realized something chilling. The humans' rise was not a threat, they were a force of nature. And in the galaxy's long quiet history, no one had seen anything like them. The red pulse on the map continued to expand, glowing brighter, unstoppable. Across the void, humans moved as one, aware of each other and the universe in a way no one had anticipated. The Council could only watch, powerless, as humanity's true nature began to reveal itself, without warning, without mercy, and without fear. The Council's fleet trembled as the humans moved with a confidence no one had predicted. Every maneuver was precise yet unpredictable, as if guided by a logic the Council could not comprehend. Commander Vela's fingers flew across her console, trying to match the humans' movements, but the more she calculated, the further ahead they seemed to be. "They're improvising," she said quietly, almost to herself. "They're not following patterns. They're creating them as they go." Elder Armin leaned over her shoulder, eyes dark with worry. "We've never seen intelligence like this. They think in ways that are organic, chaotic, brilliant. It's unlike anything our strategies can handle." Meanwhile, Captain Alara of the human fleet felt a strange exhilaration. Every star, every planet, every ship around her seemed to respond to her crew's determination. Humans weren't just reacting, they were learning, adapting, predicting. It was instinct, yes, but also something deeper, something no alien technology could replicate. On one of the Council's outer ships, sensors detected a sudden shift. The humans had begun forming patterns in space, subtle but undeniable. Energy pulses radiated outward, harmonizing across hundreds of ships. The Council officers stared in disbelief. "They're communicating without signals," one whispered. Vela's eyes widened. "It's not just communication, it's coordination on a level we cannot measure. Their minds, their will, it's part of the system itself." The Council had always prided themselves on control, on predicting the future, on bending the universe to their knowledge. But the humans were teaching them a lesson they had never expected. They were alive in ways the Council had only theorized, not witnessed. In the skies above Terra Nova, the humans' ingenuity became visible. Small drones, simple compared to Council technology, began forming intricate formations, creating shields of energy that bent light and absorbed attacks. Every Council probe that approached was met with a counter, not with brute force, but with clever strategy, diversion, misdirection, anticipation. Captain Alara smiled, watching her crew work together. "They think they're stronger, more advanced. Let's show them how humans fight with brains, not just machines." Back on the Council's platform, tension was almost unbearable. Ships that had never failed in combat before now faltered under the humans' unconventional maneuvers. Every prediction the Council had made was useless. Elder Armin turned to Vela, voice low. "We need to understand them. Not just track them, not just contain them. Understand them. Otherwise, we will lose before we even try." Vela nodded, but even she felt a flicker of doubt. Humans were not just strong or clever, they were unpredictable, and that unpredictability was spreading through the galaxy like a wildfire. On Terra Nova, a young pilot named Rin made a daring move. His small fighter darted between Council vessels, narrowly avoiding their weapons, and released a burst of energy that disrupted their targeting systems. It wasn't just skill, it was intuition, quick thinking, a fearless gamble that no alien race would attempt. Yet it worked perfectly. The council scrambled. "Focus fire. Target the small ships," an officer shouted, panic rising. But for every ship they targeted, the humans adapted. They flowed through space like water, bending paths, changing speed, and communicating silently in ways the council couldn't read. It was more than coordination. It was a living strategy, evolving with every second. Elder Armin's hands tightened on the edge of the console. "They're teaching us that strength is not only in numbers or weapons. It's in thinking differently. It's in courage. It's humanity." Vela swallowed hard. She had seen many civilizations rise, but none like this. Humans could survive disasters, adapt to impossible odds, and still find a way to advance. And now, in the first real encounter, the Council realized they had misjudged the entire species. Above Terra Nova, the auroras shimmered brighter than ever, almost as if the planet itself was alive with human energy. The humans' hearts, their minds, their determination, it resonated outward, unseen but undeniable. They were small, fragile, and yet unstoppable in ways the Council could not understand. "Sir," an officer said nervously, "if this continues, we could lose an entire fleet without a single human being harmed." Elder Armin's face was grim, but there was a spark of awe. "Perhaps that is not defeat. Perhaps it is a lesson. Humanity is not just another species. They are the universe's surprise. And we are not ready for it." Vela felt a chill run through her spine. The humans had not yet shown their full potential, not yet revealed the depths of their ingenuity. And when they did, the Council would have no choice but to adapt, or be swept aside entirely. Across the void, the human fleet pressed forward, fearless, brilliant, and alive. Every Council calculation failed, every expectation shattered. Humanity had awakened, and with it, a new chapter in the galaxy's history had begun. One that no one, not even the most powerful Council, could control. The Council fleet was in chaos. Every attempt to predict human actions failed. Commander Vela felt a growing sense of unease. Humans were no longer just clever. They were evolving in real time, reacting faster than machines, thinking faster than algorithms. "They're changing their formations on the fly," Vela said, staring at the display. "It's like they can see into the future, or at least into our next move." Elder Armin's hands tightened on the edge of his console. "Impossible. No species can adapt this quickly. No species can think this fast. Yet, here they are." On Terra Nova, Captain Alara watched the Council vessels carefully. Every human ship, small as it was, moved with precision, yet independently. Their minds were in sync, their instincts sharp, their creativity unmatched. A pattern emerged, not in the way the Council expected, but in a way that revealed humanity's true strength, adaptability. Young pilot Rin, who had already made a name for himself in the first skirmishes, spotted a Council probe hovering near a dense asteroid field. Without hesitation, he steered his ship straight into the rocks, the small vessel twisting and turning through impossible gaps. The probe tried to follow but collided with the jagged surface, exploding silently in the vacuum of space. "That's reckless," a fellow pilot shouted. Rin grinned. "It's called thinking outside the box. Works every time." The humans' creativity began to unsettle the Council even more. Ships that had once been symbols of unstoppable power now seemed sluggish, constrained by their rigid rules. Humans didn't fight with rules, they fought with ideas, instincts, and an unbreakable will. Vela tapped into the Council's monitoring network, trying to understand what was happening. Sensors detected energy spikes coming from human ships, not weapons, not shields, but something different. Something alive. "They're amplifying their own presence," Vela muttered. "It's like their minds are connected to the ships themselves. They become stronger the more they work together." Elder Armin's eyes widened. "That's not just strategy. That's evolution in action. They are adapting physically, mentally, technologically, faster than any natural process we've recorded." Meanwhile, on Terra Nova, Humans were learning faster than even their own scientists could predict. Small experiments in energy manipulation, gravity control, and even unconventional propulsion methods were producing results that defied known physics. It wasn't magic, it was pure human ingenuity, applied fearlessly and without hesitation. Captain Alara issued a simple command: push forward, observe, adapt, and respond. Everything else comes later. The human fleet surged toward the council vessels, moving like a single organism yet with individual creativity. The council fired their weapons, but the attacks were dodged, deflected, or absorbed in ways no technology could have calculated. On one council ship, alarms blared as their systems overloaded. Vela watched helplessly as a human vessel glided past, leaving behind a trail of energy that temporarily disabled the council ship's engines. They're learning from us, Vela whispered, disbelief in her voice. Every move we make, they improve instantly. Elder Armin closed his eyes, a deep sense of dread mixed with awe. We prepared for every threat except one: the human mind. We underestimated their courage, their creativity, their willingness to risk everything. And now, they are teaching us our own limits. Back on Terra Nova, Rin executed another daring maneuver, threading his small fighter through the gaps of two massive council vessels. His actions forced the council ships into collision courses with each other, but he did it without firing a single shot. Strategy, not destruction, was his weapon. The council scrambled. Every rule they had relied upon, every pattern they had calculated, every strategy they had perfected over centuries failed against the humans' relentless adaptability. Vela leaned back, breathless. They're not just surviving, they're thriving in situations that would destroy any other species. Elder Armin's voice was quiet, almost reverent. And that is humanity's true power. Not strength, not numbers, not technology, but the ability to evolve under pressure, to rise when all odds are against them, to surprise the universe itself. The red pulse on the council's maps grew stronger, almost alive. The humans were no longer just a threat, they were a force of nature. The council fleet, despite all its size and power, was starting to understand a terrifying truth: humanity could not be controlled, contained, or predicted. Captain Alara looked at her crew, their faces tense but determined. This is only the beginning. The universe hasn't seen what humans can do yet. And we're going to make sure they remember it. In the council's chamber, silence fell. The realization was sinking in: the humans had awakened, and nothing the council had prepared could stop them. The galaxy had changed overnight, and the council, powerful, ancient, unshakable, was powerless to do anything but watch. The first real chapter of humanity's rise in the stars was ending, but the story was far from over. The humans had proven their ingenuity, their courage, and their unpredictability. And as the red pulse continued to glow, one thing was certain: the council would never underestimate humanity again. The council fleet trembled under a new reality. Humans were no longer just clever, they were unstoppable. Every strategy the council devised failed before it could be executed. The red pulse on the maps had spread, touching every sensor, every system, almost as if humanity itself had reached out and whispered across the void: "We are here. We are alive." Commander Vela leaned forward, eyes wide. They're not just adapting. They're creating new technologies as they move. Look at that, those energy shields, they weren't there a minute ago. Elder Armin's hands tightened on the console. They're inventing in real time. Every move we counter, they respond with something new. They're evolving faster than anything we've encountered. On Terra Nova, Captain Alara watched her crew with quiet pride. Humans were small, fragile, and yet terrifyingly powerful in their ingenuity. They had begun experimenting with gravitational pulses, energy bending, and communication through resonance, a way of connecting that the council could neither understand nor block. Young pilot Rin was at the forefront again. His ship darted between two massive council vessels, releasing a pulse that made the ship's weapons malfunction. Not with brute force, but with precision, intuition, and intelligence. "They can't block it," shouted another officer aboard the council flagship. They're learning from every attack, Vela said. It's like the humans are thinking faster than our computers, faster than our strategy algorithms. Elder Armin's expression was grim. They are not just humans, they are something new. Something the galaxy has never seen before. The Council fleet tried a coordinated attack, pouring energy into a single strike meant to overwhelm the humans. But it was useless. Human ships moved unpredictably, twisting and turning in patterns the Council could not predict. Every Council ship was left vulnerable while the humans flowed through the battlefield like water, striking only when it was necessary. Captain Alara's voice echoed across the fleet. Observe, adapt, and improve. Every challenge is an opportunity. And the humans did. Small bursts of energy, harnessed from the stars themselves, disabled Council sensors, shields, and weapons without a single human casualty. It was not war. It was mastery. A subtle, brilliant demonstration of their potential. Vela watched helplessly as the humans advanced. They're unmatchable, she said softly. We can't anticipate their next move. The Council scrambled. Every command they gave, every weapon they fired, seemed to only make the humans stronger. They were not just fighting, they were learning, evolving, becoming something more than what the Council had ever imagined. On one Council ship, a senior officer said, voice trembling, they're using instinct as technology. How is that even possible? Elder Armin shook his head slowly. We have underestimated them. We assumed technology, rules, and control were everything. Humans, they rely on something else. Courage, intuition, creativity. They are unpredictable. They are unstoppable. Above Terra Nova, a massive energy pulse illuminated the sky, visible even from orbit. Humans were harnessing the planet itself, amplifying their presence in ways the Council had never imagined. Their ingenuity turned the battlefield into a demonstration of the species' true power, the ability to turn the impossible into reality with will, creativity, and courage. Captain Alara smiled at her crew. Every obstacle is temporary. Every limitation is a challenge. We are humans. And humans never stop. The Council fleet faltered. Their most powerful weapons misfired, their shields flickered, and their formations collapsed. Vela felt a deep chill. This was not a simple victory or defeat, it was a revelation. Humanity was no longer a minor species. They were a force of nature, reshaping the galaxy in real time. Elder Armin turned to Vela, his voice quiet but firm. We are witnessing history. And history is not on our side this time. As the red pulse grew stronger, the humans pressed forward, unstoppable, unbroken, unafraid. The Council realized, finally, that their greatest miscalculation was not underestimating human strength, but underestimating their spirit. Humanity had awakened fully, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Council's fleets were in disarray. Ships that had once struck fear across star systems now scrambled to defend themselves against humans who seemed untouchable. Commander Vela's hands shook as she tried to coordinate defenses, but every tactic was met with something new, something unexpected, something brilliant. They're breaking through our formations, Vela whispered. Every line we hold, every shield we raise, they find a way around it. Elder Armin's eyes were hard, his calm veneer cracking. This isn't war as we know it. This is something else. They are rewriting the rules while we are still counting points. On Terra Nova, Captain Alara guided her fleet toward the Council's central command vessel. It was a bold move, almost reckless, but humans had never been cautious in the face of the impossible. They had learned, adapted, and evolved far beyond what anyone expected. Rin's fighter led the way, weaving through energy pulses and magnetic fields that should have torn his ship apart. Yet he moved as if the danger itself obeyed him, a mixture of instinct, courage, and unshakable determination. They can't stop us, he shouted over the comms. We're faster, smarter, stronger than they think. Keep moving. Energy pulses from the human fleet began to bend the Council's shields, not to destroy them, but to make them falter. The Council's weapons misfired, their ships collided, and their systems overloaded. Humanity was not only surviving, they were dismantling the Council's authority piece by piece. Vela felt her stomach tighten. She had studied humans for years, catalogued their strengths and weaknesses. But this was beyond analysis. Their creativity, their courage, their unpredictability, it could not be calculated, predicted, or controlled. Elder Armin turned to her, voice low but urgent. They're challenging everything we've built, everything we've believed. And they're winning, without a single shot aimed to kill. Captain Alara's fleet reached the Council's command vessel. The humans didn't attack with weapons. They didn't fire. Instead, they demonstrated mastery over space itself. Gravity fields shifted, energy flows redirected, shields bent to create passages through impossible defenses. Every Council strategy was nullified, every advantage erased. The Council members stared in disbelief. How can a species so small, so seemingly fragile, possess such power? One officer asked. They've never been fragile, Vela said quietly. We just assumed they were. Humanity thrives under pressure. They rise when everything says they shouldn't. Rin guided his fighter to the lead Council vessel, and executed a maneuver that no one could anticipate. His ship passed through energy barriers, emitting pulses that temporarily shut down the Council's command systems. It wasn't destruction, it was a message. Humans could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast without spilling blood. Captain Alara's voice cut through the fleet comms. We don't need to destroy them. We only need to show them that humans cannot be controlled, cannot be predicted, cannot be ignored. The Council scrambled. They launched every weapon, every probe, every fleet at the humans, but it was like trying to catch a river with nets. Every strike failed. Every tactic backfired. Humanity moved with elegance, intelligence, and purpose. Vela watched as humans began to form patterns not in the sky, but in the very fabric of space. Energy fields bent in harmony, resonances amplified, and communication between ships became instantaneous, almost telepathic. They were no longer just fighting, they were orchestrating reality itself. Elder Armin's voice was barely audible. We have underestimated their true nature. Humanity is not a species to conquer. They are a force of nature. And we are powerless to stop them. The humans paused near the Council's flagship, not to strike, but to declare their presence. They radiated confidence, ingenuity, and unity. A silent message echoed through the void. We exist. We are awake. We will not be controlled. Vela felt a mixture of awe and fear. She realized what the Council had failed to see. Humans were not just clever, not just adaptable, they were unstoppable when united. Their spirit, creativity, and courage made them untouchable. The Council's most powerful fleets faltered. The red pulse on their maps glowed brighter than ever, a symbol of humanity's awakening. The galaxy itself seemed to hum in response. Captain Alara looked at her crew. This is the moment we've been preparing for. Humanity has arrived, not as a species to be conquered, but as a species that will shape the stars. Remember this. Vela leaned back in disbelief, realizing that the Council's age of unquestioned authority was over. The humans had not only survived, they had triumphed without violence, without cruelty, without fear. And the galaxy would never forget it. The first true challenge to the Council had come. And humanity had not only met it, they had redefined it. The Council fleet trembled under the humans' unrelenting presence. Every weapon fired, every strategy planned, every prediction made had failed. Commander Vela's eyes darted across the display, unable to comprehend what was happening. Humans were no longer just clever, they were unstoppable. They're everywhere at once, she whispered, disbelief in her voice. Every move we make, they anticipate it, adapt to it, improve it. Elder Armin's hands shook as he gripped the console. We have underestimated them for centuries. We believed ourselves superior. But we were blind. On Terra Nova, Captain Alara watched her fleet, proud but focused. Every human ship moved with precision, yet independently. Each pilot, each crew member, was part of a whole, an organism of determination, creativity, and courage. They were small, fragile, and yet unbreakable. Rin led the vanguard, threading his ship through the Council's defenses like water flowing between rocks. Every maneuver, every pulse of energy, disrupted the Council fleet systems without harming life. Humans were not killers, they were strategists, thinkers, creators, and survivors. They're reshaping space itself, one Council officer whispered, voice trembling. They're controlling the battlefield without destroying it. Vela's heart raced. It's not weapons. It's ingenuity, courage, adaptation. Every challenge we throw at them, they turn into strength. Elder Armin's face darkened, a mix of awe and dread. This is beyond strategy. This is evolution. This is humanity's true nature. The humans advanced toward the Council's flagship. Their energy fields bent light, their ships moved as one, yet independently, and every pulse they sent disrupted the Council systems. The red glow on the maps expanded, alive, unstoppable, a symbol of humanity's awakening. Captain Alara spoke through the comms, calm but powerful. We are not here to destroy. We are here to be seen, to be acknowledged, and to show that humanity cannot be controlled, cannot be predicted, cannot be ignored. The Council scrambled. Every fleet maneuver, every weapon, every calculation failed. The humans moved with unity, intelligence, and courage, turning obstacles into opportunities. The Council's authority, built over millennia, was crumbling, not by force, but by ingenuity, adaptability, and spirit. Vela watched helplessly as humans formed patterns in the void, energy streams bending perfectly, gravity waves amplifying their presence, communication between ships instantaneous. They had become something greater than the sum of their parts. They're not just fighting, she said, her voice trembling. They're orchestrating reality itself. Elder Armin nodded slowly, eyes wide. They have risen above control, above expectation, above everything we thought we knew. Humanity is not a species to be dominated, they are a force to be respected. On Terra Nova, Captain Alara smiled at her crew. This is only the beginning. The universe will remember this day. Humans have arrived, not as subjects, not as pawns, but as a species that shapes the stars. Rin and his fighter darted past the Council flagship, releasing a pulse that disrupted their energy grids. Not to destroy, not to harm, but to demonstrate power. Humanity's message was clear. We exist. We are awake. We will not be ignored. The Council fell silent. Every member stared at the screens, realizing the truth they had denied for centuries. Humans were not just another species. They were innovators, explorers, strategists, and survivors. They were unpredictable, adaptable, and unstoppable. Elder Armin's voice was barely audible. We misjudged them. We thought them weak, primitive, irrelevant. But we were wrong. Humanity is not only alive, they are the future. The humans' red pulse expanded across the galaxy, a living symbol of courage, unity, and brilliance. The Council fleet could do nothing but watch as humanity claimed its place among the stars, not with violence, but with ingenuity, willpower, and spirit. Vela felt awe, fear, and respect all at once. The humans had risen beyond expectation, beyond control, and beyond prediction. The galaxy had changed overnight, and the Council knew, with a clarity that was both terrifying and humbling, that they could never underestimate humanity again. Captain Alara looked at her fleet, calm and proud. Remember this moment. We've shown them who we are. And this is just the beginning. The Council's red pulse dimmed in resignation, while humanity's glow spread farther than anyone could measure. In the quiet of space, a single truth resonated. Humanity had awakened, and the universe would never be the same. The first chapter of humanity's rise was over, but the story of their legacy in the stars was only beginning.